Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Chris Hayes. All along, the plan was Project 2025, the 900-page far-right blueprint on how to go full authoritarian in a second Trump term, a document so full of unpopular, radioactive, and illegal ideas that Donald Trump pretended throughout the campaign he had nothing to do with it, even though we all knew he did. Today, the Trump administration succeeded in adding to a key post one of the top architects of Project 2025, someone who should be quite famous and will be, I think, as time goes on. His name is Russell Vought. He's the guy who literally wrote the chapter in Project 2025 that lays the foundation for the ongoing Trump-Musk attack on your government's most basic functions. In his chapter of Project 2025 on how to wield executive office of president, Vought wrote that OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, should operate as the president's mind, adding it's vital the OMB director and his political staff, not the careerists, drive these offices in pursuit of the president's actual priorities. Just moments ago, all 53 Senate Republicans voted in lockstep to confirm Russell Vought as director of the powerful Office of Management and Budget. All 47 Senate Democrats and independents voted against Vought's confirmation. Each of them shouted their reason for voting no, in turn being shut down by the Senate's presiding officer.
Ms. Hassan.
Pursuant to Rule 12, no debate is permitted during a vote. The senator will suspend.
Mr. Hawley. Mr. Heinrich.
Pursuant to Rule 12, no debate is permitted during a vote.
Mr. Hickenlooper.
Pursuant to Rule 12, no debate is permitted during a vote. The senator will suspend.
Ms. Hirono.
Pursuant to Rule 12, no debate is permitted during a vote. The senator will suspend.
Today's protest came after 30 straight hours of debate over the vote, where Democrats occupied the floor, spoke out continuously and angrily about the dangers posed to the constitutional order by Vought's confirmation.
Russ Vought wrote Project 2025, and now Donald Trump is rewarding him by inviting him into the government in order to carry out the Republican blueprint to make our government force people to live in the image that Russ Vought and other extremist Republicans approve of.
He's the last person who should be put in the job at the heart of the operation of our government.
Behind every one of these budget lines are people who will be hurt if the president and Mr. Vought get their way and cut off federal grants.
Vought has shown complete disregard for democratic institutions.
He is Donald Trump's most dangerous nominee.
Vought's confirmation tonight comes as Elon Musk and his cadre of 20-something coders continue to infiltrate federal buildings, plug things into servers, and try to hollow out the United States government from within. Today we learned a bit more about one of those aides to Musk. Marco Ellis is his name. He is the 25-year-old DOJ staff member who reportedly had access to the Treasury Department's most sensitive payment systems, the one that control $6 trillion of payments, a fifth of the U.S. economy. Today, a Wall Street Journal reporter linked Ellis to a now-deleted social media account full of racist and hateful statements, including, for one example, "I was racist before it was cool." Shortly after that, reporter reached out to the Trump administration for comment. The White House said Ellis had suddenly resigned from his role with DOJ, although one has to imagine he was a little confused about why he was being fired. Lots of people are calling Elon Musk's actions a coup. It's not really a coup in any way that maps directly onto history because, well, Musk is working for the President of the United States, and the President of the United States was duly elected. So the word doesn't fit in its most literal sense, but there is a way in which it fits perfectly conceptually. Because what is happening is a vanguard lawlessly seizing power. And it's the act of a president and his co-president breaking laws in every direction in order to fundamentally undo the constitutional order, to seize powers enumerated to the legislative branch of our government. It is a foundational part of the constitutional order that Congress has the power of the purse and that they run the appropriations. It is why we have perennial fights on Capitol Hill over funding the government. In fact, you may recall one just before Christmas, not too long ago, when House Republicans flirted with a shutdown after killing their own bill to fund the federal government because Musk and then Trump told them to. Turned out to be a pretty telling incident. The reason that fight happened is because there's two bodies of government that have to come into agreement on funding. Congress passes a budget or appropriations bills. The president signs those bills, spending bills, into law. And then the president has to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, because that exact language is in the Constitution. And he has sworn an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. But he's not doing that right now. And that's where Russell Vought comes in. The Project 2025 architect, who was just confirmed as Trump's budget director, says we are living in a post-constitutional time. He wrote that in a 2022 essay that argued that the left has corrupted the nation's laws and institutions. And he reiterated that point last year after a jury found Trump guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, tweeting, "Do not tell me we are living under the Constitution." So Vought has developed a theory in response: to destroy the structure of the republic that diffuses power. He calls it radical constitutionalism. The theory, such as it is, which is not that sophisticated or interesting, is that the libs did it first, they violated the Constitution, so now MAGA gets to do it on an unprecedented scale. A post-constitutional order in which an authoritarian president seizes the power over all the money in the federal government, up to $6 trillion, 1/5 of the entire United States economy. Your Social Security checks, your Medicare checks, your student loans, every single last thing, all of it, all in the control of Donald Trump, or, well, Elon Musk, or actually, maybe more properly, Musk's personal entourages of 20-somethings who likes to post things like, "I was racist before it was cool." And if you wonder whether the chaos of the past few weeks actually has a blueprint, Russell Vought laid out that plan in a private speech in 2023, a speech that was unearthed last year by ProPublica.
We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want their funding to be shut down so that the EPA can't do all of the rules against our energy industry because they have no bandwidth financially to do so. We want to put them in trauma.
Put them in trauma. Now consider the category of people we're talking about, right? Like air traffic controllers. Do you want air traffic controllers to be in trauma? Do you want air traffic controllers not to want to go to work? Do you want air traffic controllers to just leave their jobs? That's what Russell Vought says he wants. This is the guy who beta tested the idea that the president can unilaterally make decisions about spending as the budget director in Trump's first term. You remember this one? Again, maybe lost to history, but I was there. I remember it. Russell Vought was one of the administration officials who actually tested this out on $400 million appropriated by Congress, signed by the president for arms sales to Ukraine. And at Trump's request, Vought and others just didn't release the money, impounded it, froze the arms sales. It was, of course, part of Trump's corrupt bargain to try and trade arms to Ukrainians in exchange for dirt he could use against Joe Biden. In fact, he got impeached for it. A federal watchdog said Vought's impoundment of the funds was illegal. It flatly is. There's a law barring it, as well as the Constitution. But again, he and Trump and Musk don't care. They don't care about faithfully executing the laws. Their plan is a post-constitutional order in which they seize power. As Vought posted to the social media platform Musk owns last year, he sees his task as, quote, making impoundment great again. So they're trying to implement this very plan. Just look at what we are now learning about Musk's invasion of the U.S. Treasury. The White House repeatedly said Musk's cadre would have read-only access to the federal Treasury's payment systems. But internal emails now show that Trump appointees and Musk allies wanted to use those sensitive systems to block payments they didn't like. Payments, again, Congress already authorized and appropriated the funds to cover. In other words, they appear to have lied to cover their attempts at a takeover of Congress's constitutional responsibility. It is now a question of defending the constitutional order day in, day out, because time is of the essence, against these men by any democratic means necessary, because what they are dead set on doing is be able to just delete contracts, delete payments, delete transfers, to decide unilaterally because Elon Musk has some kid sitting at the console who doesn't want that Social Security check to go out, who decides which promised funds go through and who doesn't, unilaterally, through a back end they put in on the whims of the world's richest man, the president he helped elect. That is the so-called post-constitutional order that Russell Vought is going to try to construct. Senator Jeff Merkley is a Democrat of Oregon. He kicked off the Democrats' 30 hours straight of speeches against Russell Vought's confirmation, and he joins me now. Senator, we showed the poster next to you on the floor of the Senate calling him the most dangerous nominee by Trump. Why do you say that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, think of some of the folks who are very concerned about, people like Tulsi Gabbard or by like Hegworth. They have people below them who are going to moderate their actions, contribute some real professional content if they are, in fact, in office. And of course, Hegseth already is. But in this case, there will be no one moderating Russell Vought. He was so clear to us that he believes that it's the president's power to ignore the laws as written, that it's the president's power to ignore the Constitution. If people want to take it to the Supreme Court, fine, but that'll take a long time and they'll be able to continue doing what they want. And once you erase the boundary between Congress making laws and the president executing laws, what you have is an authoritarian government. And that's exactly what he's advocating for. He's advocating for the imperial presidency. We saw him do this with the impoundment of the money for Ukraine. We saw it in what he did in a think tank before he wrote Project 2025. We saw it in Project 2025. And we saw it in Monday, a week and a half ago, when he proceeded to work with OMB to launch the dead of night directive to shut down payments across the country. This is why he's so incredibly dangerous. He is a threat not just to the law, but a threat to our constitutional separation of powers.